CNN News 18 Primetime Studio, presented by Greenlam Laminates. Today was day one of the Constitution debate in the Rajya Sabha. After a fiery session in the lower house last week, the stage was set with Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, opening up the attack against the Congress party. It was met with a fierce rebuttal from the leader of opposition in the upper house, Mallikarjun Kharge. And I'll take you through that exchange in just a bit. But the debate essentially revolved around Congress's past decisions versus what the Modi government has done in the last decade. A war of track records, if you will. But the one thought that resonated in both houses of parliament and will continue to do so tomorrow as well in the Rajya Sabha was that the Congress echoing that Samvidhan khatre mein hai. But is it really the case? Before we get into that, let me take you through what transpired in the Rajya Sabha, the upper house today, which is still debating the constitution even as we speak. Nirmala Sitharaman attacked the Congress over its alleged role in altering the constitution for the benefit of the Gandhi family. In response, Mallikarjun Kharge countered by accusing the BJP of being driven by hatred and attempting to undermine the Gandhi family and the Congress's legacy. Finance Minister then sharpened her attack. She slammed the emergency that was imposed by Indira Gandhi, as was done by several other union ministers and the Prime Minister in the Lok Sabha last week, calling it a blatant abuse of the constitution. While Mallikarjun Kharge then defended the Nehru-Gandhi family and the Grand Old Party, he countered it by saying that the legacy of Jawaharlal Nehru, of Indira Gandhi and of Rajiv Gandhi was being unfairly tarnished by the BJP, specifically Nirmala Sitharaman in the upper house. The Finance Minister then accused Indira Gandhi of using the 42nd Amendment during the emergency to amend the constitution for the personal benefit of consolidating her own power. Kharge not only rejected that claim, but even asked them what has Prime Minister Modi done to strengthen the constitution in the last 10 years. Sitharaman then criticized Indira Gandhi for amending the preamble of the constitution during emergency. She argued that this change was part of a broader political agenda to legitimize authoritarian rule, especially after Indira Gandhi jailed opposition leaders, suspended civil liberties. On the other hand, Mallikarjun Kharge called the BJP's attacks on them unfair. He pointed out that the Gandhi family's role in India's independence in shaping the nation's democratic framework was being unjustly maligned by BJP, a party whose ideologue, the RSS, has often been against the constitution. Nirmala Sitharaman accused the Congress of using the Garibi Hatao slogan as a mere political slogan without actually delivering on it. She suggested that despite decades of rule, the Congress party had failed to address poverty effectively. Kharge countered by criticizing that Modi government was promoting inequality and failing to tackle the real issues, specifically of economic disparity. Remember, Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, had said something similar last week, where he said the rich were getting richer and the poor were getting poorer. Now, the Congress has been accusing the centre of wanting to change the constitution. We've heard it all during the run-up to the Lok Sabha elections, then in the consecutive state elections that we saw, and even in Parliament now. But is amending the constitution an unimaginable thought? No, it's not. In fact, India's constitution has been amended over 100 times since independence. Some of those amendments strengthened our democracy. Some others are a reminder of our dark history. The first amendment came 1 year after the constitution came into being in 1951. It allowed restriction on free speech in the name of public morality and national security. That's something that all BJP leaders have been highlighting in the parliament during this debate. The 42nd Amendment of 1976, it was enacted during Indira Gandhi's emergency. This amendment made constitution living by adding terms like socialist and secular in the preamble. Then in 78 came the 44th Amendment. It limited the powers that were given during emergency. It reinforced safeguards for fundamental rights. It reduced the right to property from a fundamental right to a constitutional right as well. Then in 1985 came the 52nd Amendment. It was introduced, the 10th schedule, to disqualify MPs and legislators for defection. That defection law is still in place and is used as we see parties en masse leaving, going towards another party that is in power. 1988 came in the amendment which lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. It expanded the electorate. It gave the franchise to millions of young voters. The 73rd and 74th Amendments came into being in 1992. It mandated the creation of panchayats and municipalities in all states, which means that local level decision making was strengthened, that democracy at the local level was also strengthened. 103rd Amendment came into being in 2019. It introduced reservations in education and government jobs based on economic criteria. A family income cap of 8 lakh rupees was per annum was the cap based on which you would be eligible for reservation in government jobs and government educational institutions. In 2002, the 86th Amendment came into being. It made right to education a fundamental right for children aged 6 to 14. It led to the enactment of the Right to Education Act as well. In 2016, we had the 101st Amendment. It introduced GST, something that the Finance Minister spoke of today. It consolidated various taxes under one national tax regime, something that many states had opposed, which the Congress pointed out, to which Nirmala Sitharaman said, yes, many BJP-ruled states were against it, but so were opposition-ruled states, and now they've all come together to try and make this system work. So as we see that constitution debate take place in the upper house now, and day 2 is going to be tomorrow, what we want to ask is this Samvidhan in danger call that the Congress often reiterates, is that call even valid?
The amendments were not about strengthening democracy, sir, but protecting those in power. Again, the process is used for strengthening the family.
कि जब यह संविधान बनी सर, उस वक्त संविधान को जलाने वाले लोग लालमय, ये जो रामलीला मैदान में इन्हों जलाए उसने।
जिस विपक्ष स्वतः संविधान का मान सम्मान नहीं रखता, और प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बड़े सीधे तरीके से उनको बेनकाब किया।
उनको एक गांधी परिवार से फोबिया है और एक नेहरू के ऊंचे कद के सामने उनके अंदर हीन भावना है।
ये जनसंघ की मंशा थी।
Let's open this up. Anila Singh, spokesperson of the BJP, is with us. Sujata Paul, spokesperson of the Congress, and senior journalist R. Rajgopalan. Sujata Paul, let me begin by asking you. Even today, we had Mallikarjun Kharge, the leader of opposition, say that the constitution is in danger. This is a narrative that the Congress has spoken of both inside and outside Parliament in the run-up to elections as well. Why is it that the Congress believes so?
The Congress not only believes in this, but various leaders of the BJP have proved it when they went around telling the citizens of India that if Mr. Modi got 400 seats, the constitution would be changed. And that is on record. All of you have shown those visuals many times, but I will not go into that. The most important thing is, if you look at the history of the RSS and BJP, Mr. Veer Savarkar had said that for a Hindu nation, it should be the Manusmriti, which should be in place because it is the most revered, scripture for them after the Vedas. Then Mr. Golwalkar, in his bunch of thoughts, has clearly written that the Constitution of India was borrowed from all over the world, and therefore it had nothing good about it. And this is categorically said in the bunch of thoughts. Now, when we talk about what the BJP has been saying today, look at what they said, that the preamble was changed and the words secular and socialist were included there. So, do they mean to say that they do not want a secular country? Are they trying to say that they are against socialism? Thirdly, when you talk about the First Amendment, look at the lies that were propagated. The fact is that the First Amendment was basically brought in for 3 reasons mainly. Because there was a huge communal propaganda after partition in the country. So to restrict that, to make sure that people did not use freedom of expression and destroy public order, destroy our relations with other countries, this was brought in. The Abolition Act, the Zamindari Abolition Act, it was struck down by the courts of the country, and to protect that particular act, this amendment was brought in. So the BJP clearly wants the Zamindari system to have existed. And thirdly, reservation, to protect reservation for the SCs, STs, OBCs. This is the reason why this First Amendment Act was brought in. So is the BJP against all this? They need to answer instead of propagating falsehoods about what the First Amendment Act was for. And lastly, Mr. Basavaraj Bommai is who I'm going to quote, and what he said during the run-up to the Lok Sabha 2024 election was that Baba Saheb Ambedkar had given amendment provision to the constitution to keep it dynamic and living. So are they against it? When they do it, all is well. But the list that you've given, whether it is right to education or all the other reasons, I'm not going to repeat it for the sake of repeating it. But the fact is that these amendments were brought in to make India a safe place for its citizens. When you talk about the 44th Amendment,
Sure.
Indira Gandhi ji,
Sure. Like I said right at the
agreed to
start.
that, yeah?
Right.
Yes.
Like I said right at the start that there were amendments that have been made over 100 times in the last 7 decades. So whether the constitution is being changed or not being changed and whether it can be changed or no is not up for debate at all. But if you're talking about certain amendments that were meant to strengthen the democracy, there were also certain amendments that were meant not to. And there was and the First Amendment also did go to talk of that. It added reasonable before restrictions, included public order, friendly relations with foreign states, security of state and incitement as an offence as new restrictions. It curtailed freedom of speech. There is no doubt over that. But Anila Singh, the BJP is just trying to make a big deal out of what happened decades ago because the BJP is obsessed with the Nehru-Gandhi family is the allegation that the Congress makes, and the BJP is living in the past.
My Ram Ram to all, and we are not at all obsessed by this particular family, but we know it very well. This particular family who thinks that it is their birthright to rule this nation, to rule the Congress party, and through the Congress party they want to rule the India, because they think that our country is not a nation, so for them nation doesn't matter at all. But I'm so thankful to Ms. Sujata Paul because she brought the issue of First Amendment, and she said First Amendment was brought so that the public order can be maintained. Madam, Majrooh Sultanpuri was jailed because of this amendment, and his crime was he called Chacha Nehru that he is Hitler ka chela. Majrooh Sultanpuri called Nehru that he is Hitler ka chela, so he was put behind the bar. What type of public order is this? That everybody is going to do chamchagiri of this particular family? Who they think of themselves? And number two, we know it very well. Time and again, more than 100 amendments were brought by this particular political family via Congress party whenever they were in power. I have to ask one thing here. Those who crushed the spirit and the soul of the constitution, those who changed the preamble, now they are asking us that what do we understand by constitution? They are telling us that Samvidhan khatre mein hai, constitution is in danger today, there is a declared emergency in the country. So what was that what Rajiv Gandhi did with the woman? And she simply wanted a petty amount of money for her children, for herself. He changed the verdict of the Supreme Court. What about the Indira Gandhi who brought emergency and she crossed all the limits? What public order was that? And what about Miss Sonia Gandhi when she was de facto, when she was de facto Prime Minister, and accidental Prime Minister was Mr. Manmohan Singh? During that time, more than 13,000 activists were put behind the jail, and in one day 8,500 of activists, when Mr. Chidambaram, he was Home Minister, they were put behind the bars. What type of liberty is this? I can quote n number of examples. And just one more thing I want to quote here. Time and again, this political party or this falling apart India Alliance, they created a false narrative that the leaders of the Bharatiya Janata Party just before the election, they have said that if they come 400 ka par, we are going to change the constitution and reservation will be finished. They misquoted.
No, Anila Singh, some leaders did go on record to say that the constitution will be changed. In fact, the BJP had to come up and reprimand those leaders as well.
One example when they have said that reservation will be struck down.
Sure.
If we come in power with 400 plus.
Sure,
Not a single
but
leader has said that reservation will be cancelled.
yes, but the constitution will be changed was a statement that was made by many BJP leaders. But Sujata Paul, quick rebuttal before I get in R. Rajgopalan as well. This narrative that the constitution will be changed in the run-up to the elections, it was all about, oh, if the BJP or the NDA has 400 par, then they'll change the narrative, then they'll change the constitution, they'll take away rights. But that never happened. So then, does that narrative still stand, or is it merely a bogey that the Congress and the opposition bloc has latched onto?
No, you know, the way the Bharatiya Janata Party has reacted to the mandate which got reduced. Why? Because people of this country are out there standing up to protect their constitution. Otherwise, they thought that they would go 400 par. And they thought that Mr. Modi would talk about bears and Mangal Sutra and they would get 400 par.
Exactly my point. So Sujata Paul is saying that the people stood up and resonated with what the opposition was saying to save the constitution. Then why do we still say that the BJP is out to destroy the constitution?
I was talking about that only, Poonam, that the way the Bharatiya Janata Party is now defending itself, it's so defensive and attack is the best form of defense, and that is why the Prime Minister is going around saying that we respect the Constitution. Why is it that their leaders from Jyoti Mirda to so many others kept saying that the Constitution would be changed if Mr. Modi got 400 seats? They were candidates of the BJP. They weren't mere members of the BJP who were saying it, and that is why they are defending and attacking the Congress party. Shows that they want to prove it to people that the Congress party's narrative was wrong, but the Congress party's narrative was the truth, and the people of this country also recognized it. Today, all the institutions are being misused. There is an undeclared emergency.
But as far as institutions being misused is concerned, it was during the UP era, if I'm not mistaken, when the Supreme Court had pulled up the CBI and called it a cage parrot. But let me get in R. Rajgopalan in as well. The Congress is keeping its attack on the BJP, Mr. Rajgopalan, not just for what the BJP has said or done, but also what the RSS has said and done during the freedom struggle. During the time, the inception of the constitution. That's something that seems to give ammunition to the Congress party, that the RSS, the ideologue of the BJP, never wanted this kind of modern constitution. They wanted it to be on the lines of Manusmriti.
Manusmriti was only an invention of DMK kind of regional parties. That is why Rahul Gandhi is famous for picking each policies from each political party and speak in the Lok Sabha. Rahul Gandhi did not focus on Manusmriti properly. My understanding of Rahul Gandhi has been, he does more theatrics than the coming into the spot type of thing. It's Palestine bag. You cannot wear a Palestine bag and come to parliament, What is the difference between Owaisi and Priyanka Gandhi? Second thing, Karge's speech in Rajya Sabha, there's no spark. He repeated whatever, said by Rahul Gandhi in the lower house. Second thing, if you differentiate between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, Poonam, today Rajya Sabha debate is very dull. Did not have any spark. Second, Abhishek Manu Singhi just now spoke and he did not give an insight thought about the Congress. And how does RSS or BJP come into the being of Constitution Day? Because RSS, what does RSS do? Except, Rahul Gandhi saying we are welcome. But Congress invited its own trouble. It is Rahul Gandhi who wrote a letter to Speaker of Lok Sabha to have a 2-day session. The government accepted it. Now, government turned the table against Congress. See the point, many MPs were all, interested in knowing about the exact what Congress stood for. But neither Rahul Gandhi nor Madam Priyanka Gandhi or even for that matter Mallikarjun Kharge could not explain what they stood for. Second, what is the stand of National Advisory Council? What is the stand of Shah Banu case? These are all certain things. During NAC, National Advisory Council, Poonam, I know, I have been reporting for, the Congress for more than 30-40 years. I could say it is Madam Sonia Gandhi who wrote to Dr. Manmohan Singh about how the 2005 budget should be. She made lots of, comments on the left liberal situation. How can she write a letter to, it's an unconstitutional body. National Advisory Council.
Sujata Paul, let him finish. I'll come to you for your rebuttal.
He'll say whatever he feels like.
Let him finish. You can come back for your rebuttal.
Produce evidence. Tell him to produce evidence.
I did not speak, madam. Poonam, you have to control.
Allegations, Sujata Paul, allegations are made from all sides without producing proof, and all parliamentarians, all politicians do it.
National Advisory Council. I
And
get to the point.
sure, now as far as the Nehru letters are concerned, Mr. Rajgopalan, those are still in the realm of debate. What happened to those letters? It's also a question that's being asked why it's come up now. But sticking about what's happening in Parliament, and the question that I was really asking, I want to get in the BJP in on that as well. The
Second, one
Constitution.
second,
Yes.
Let me
Yeah.
finish it.
Yes, go ahead.
She followed, my flow was disturbed by this Congress spokesperson because
Go
they
ahead,
do
Mr.
on-
Rajagopal.
They do in studio also. My point is, Mallikarjun Kharge's speech was irrelevant today. He did not.
Okay, let's
prepare well.
not speak over each other, please. I'll give everyone their time. Mr. Rajgopalan, please go ahead.
The Congress should have done more express way in Rajya Sabha because it's a House of Elders. I expected Congress to do more, in a very methodical manner, why the Constitution was amended, etc. And Congress is yet to speak about the Shah Banu case, National Advisory Council, and etc. Because Narendra Modi's speech was more, of political nature. Congress should have also taken it like that. My understanding of the debate is Congress invited trouble and BJP turned the table against Congress, made it as a constitution versus one parivar.
But the Congress doesn't believe that it's cornered at all, that the tables have been turned. Sujata Paul.
They are in Wonderland.
But Mr. Rajgopalan, the India bloc as a whole does believe that they are cornering the government on multiple issues. They've raised different issues that needed to be discussed in this session, which haven't been. Be it the Sambal issue, be it inflation. All of those issues had to be discussed, but it weren't because there was complete pandemonium until we reached a point where the constitution debate started last week on Friday.
I replied to that because more theatrics were done outside the parliament. Inside the parliament, the Congress was walking out. They should have cooperated with the government. Whatever the amount of drama Rahul Gandhi did, having a mask and also a bag and also T-shirt, stickers, etc. These are all done by
Which is also their constitutional right, though, as far as protest and dissent and free speech is concerned. But Anila Singh,
Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, whatever this Congress
sure.
saying on
But
television-
Sujata Paul, okay, so Sujata Paul, about these protests that we saw in Parliament. Yes, it is. Yes, it is everybody's right to peacefully protest and give in writing or give in public domain what their dissent is. But multiple appeals were made by the Lok Sabha Speaker, by the Rajya Sabha Chair about maintaining decorum in the Parliament, about not wasting time, resources, money of the taxpayer, because of which the Parliament barely saw any business happen. And those appeals went unheard. There was sloganeering that was inside, there were protests that were happening outside. Is that not insult to constitution as well?
No, Poonam, this is not just our right, it is also the government's responsibility to make sure that the trust deficit is, is worked upon. And when we are saying that there should be debates on certain issues, why is the government not allowing it? Why is the government on the back foot on those issues? And I just heard your senior journalist say that the opposition should be cooperating with the government. The government is all powerful. Doesn't Mr. Rajgopal know this? And if it is all powerful, it should be able to make sure that that every party is on board with them when it comes to discussions. And if you remember, the constitution debate has happened only because Rahul Gandhi ji said that of course we want it and you agree to it and we will make sure that we are doing it. And that's how it happened in Lok Sabha. Did it not or did it?
But the constitution debate, Sujata Paul, was agreed upon a week before it actually happened. And the week that followed, even then there was no business that happened. So just because the government agreed on a demand that came in from the opposition did not cooperate. The protests continued outside. There was din and sloganeering inside both houses of parliament in that week leading up to the Friday debate.
Yes, Poonam. So these are issues.
So then when the Congress and the leader of opposition says that we want the house to function, well, you're not walking the talk because the house is not functioning.
No, we want the issues to be spoken about. We want issues to be discussed.
But the issue can only be discussed if there is no sloganeering. Issues can be discussed if there is a civil debate and discussion, a healthy one.
No, but if you are going to write to the speaker and say that we want a discussion on the Sambal issue and the speaker doesn't agree to it, what are you going to do? If you are not going to agree to the issue of Adani being debated in Parliament, what do? He's very close to the Prime Minister, and this conflict of interest.
Sure, to which the BJP simply asked you that if the Adani issue was to be discussed, then would you discuss the alleged link between Sonia Gandhi and Soros as well? It has to be, but that was not what was conveyed by the opposition or the Congress party on the floor of the House. But Anila Singh, I'm running out of time. Anila Singh, as far as the Constitution is concerned, insulting or respecting the Constitution has to be a two-way street. Unfortunately, that's not what we've seen in Parliament all of these 3 weeks in this winter session. Eventually, the onus is on the government of the day to ensure that Parliament functions. Isn't that a disrespect to the Constitution and the people and the taxpayers of this country as well?
You're absolutely correct. Onus is on the government. You're right. But at the same time, if somebody goes on the suicidal mode, you can give that person a treatment which can help that person to come out from that situation. But what we are observing, that opposition in today's day, especially this particular political party, Indian National Confused Party, they are totally on suicidal mode. They do not want to discuss. They just want to make ruckus. That is the sole motto of this political party, to come to Parliament. And in today's day, like I was listening to Mr. Rajgopal, and he was saying that dramatics of the Rahul Gandhi, it is his majboori, because of the competition is in between brother and sister. कौन ज्यादा ड्रामेटिक कर सकता है, कौन पैलेस्टाइन का बैग लेगा, कौन सा टी शर्ट पहनेगा. So the competition is in between the brother and sister who can get more photo optics. This is what they are after, and they should not preach us what constitution is. A political party, whenever they have come into power, we know. Now the latest, I just want to know, if I talk about the section 66A, which was brought in, which was roped in, about information and technology, is it somehow, does it give you any sort of freedom of speech power? Of course not. If we talk about the fundamental rights, if we talk about the equal rights to practice your religion, is it here in India? Of course not, because they have appeased one particular religious community. They have targeted majority population in our country. There are so many things this party has done to demean, to ridicule this nation of us and Hindu Sanatanis. This political party.
It's interesting because that's the same allegation. It's interesting because that's the same allegation that the Congress and the opposition makes against the BJP, that you're trying to erase, you're trying to malign the legacy that India has had. Yes, the Congress party of the UPA has been in power for decades, but that is the history of this country and you cannot change or erase that as well. But I have to leave it there. I thank you all. I thank you all for joining us here on this edition of Plain Speak and sharing your perspective.